Hi guys, this is gsno.com and I'm here with the unboxing of the world famous Google Pixel 3 XL. It's got a notch, it's got a big screen, it's got a lot of stuff going on, and the price tag is around $900 on Verizon, contract free, and it's also about 860 bucks on Amazon if you really want it unlocked. Here we go, this is the phone. Let's unwrap it and see what it's all about. Okay, this is it. It's quite a big device, I have to say. That's my first impression. So the Google Pixel 3 series, it debuted at the end of the fall of 2018, and it's pretty hard to come by. Usually those Pixel phones are pricey, they're pretty hard to find at retailers, at carriers, but lo and behold, we have one. So my first impression is that it feels like a combination of premium and plastic. I know it's not plastic, but it feels rather interesting. And for such a big diagonal, it's pretty easy to wield. Okay, it's an unboxing, so let's see what's inside the box of the Google Pixel 3 XL. We put this aside, and I want to remind you the price, about $860 on Amazon. Now I have this envelope here, and we got the SIM key here, the key used to access the slots, well, the SIM slot, because there's no microSD slot on this device, as you probably know. And we also have a bunch of manuals and useful info. Let's actually get it all out. Okay, so let's party, Team Pixel stickers, and also extra information about the machine. Going further, we get a surprise here, a bunch of headphones with some details. We also have a remote control used to control our calls and our musical playback. The headphones have an USB Type-C connector. Okay, and they're pretty nice, I have to say. They have that special little extra appendix that will make them stick in your ear better for fitness sessions. Okay, going even further, we find the usual USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable. It's atypical, but that's how Google rolls. And that will be hooked up to this charger here, which is a bit more normal for the country I'm in. You can plug the USB Type-C here and you are done. And last but not least, there are adapters. There is the USB Type-C to full USB. This will help with the transfer of data from your old phone to the new phone. And of course, the USB Type-C to audio jack 3.5mm, because you know, there is no more audio jack on phones nowadays. This is pretty hard to put in, by the way. Okay, so I will maintain my first impression. It feels like plastic became premium. I know there's a lot of metal in here, but somehow the edges feel like plastic to me. Let's fire up the phone, and I have noticed that the power button is a bit higher than expected. I keep expecting it to be here, but this is actually the volume button, and the power button is higher. We got a notch, not the biggest in the world. I can live with it for sure. And here comes the setup. Of course, this is a flagship that's based on Android Pie. It's basically a representative for Android Pie. It's the symbol for it. I'm going to skip some stuff and proceed to the interface. Everybody has been raving about the special nighttime usage camera app, Night Sight, or however they call it. And they've been saying it's great. It's finally a way to try it on this device, even though people have ported it on other devices. And this has got to be one of the shortest setups I've seen on a device ever. Okay, so this is it. The bezels are quite narrow, I have to say that, even though the chin is rather prominent. And you can see here one of the speakers. We have a stereo speaker system. And let's talk about the specs for a tiny little bit. So the thickness is 7.9mm. It weighs a reasonable 184 grams, and the screen you're seeing here is a 6.3 incher. It's a POLED with a resolution of 2960 over 1440 pixels. It's got HDR, and it's also got Gorilla Glass 5 for protection. The phone is actually certified for water and dust, IP68. It's got a Snapdragon 845 CPU inside, fingerprint scanner at the back, 4 gigs of RAM, and 64 or 128 gigabytes of storage. The battery sounds okay to me, 3430 milliamp per hour. Now on the camera front, there's an interesting thing here. There's actually a reason for the notch. We get dual selfie cameras, 8 megapixels and 8 megapixels combined together, a combo of wide and ultra wide sensors, or better said, lenses hooked to sensors. So 8 plus 8 megapixels, and then we go to the back side, 12.2 megapixel singular sensor with LED flash, and also f1.8 aperture, optical image stabilization, dual pixel technology, 4K video capture, you name it. Stereo speakers already mentioned, we got wireless charging, and the color hues are as usual humorous. They're clearly white, just black and not pink. We got an aluminum frame apparently, even though I'll say it again, feels like plastic to me. We also have the special Titan M security module. We got 4G LTE, of course, USB Type-C, Bluetooth 5.0, and there should also be the active edge where you squeeze for your assistant. And sadly, I'm not very sure, but you probably cannot squeeze for other apps. People will love it, but I'm going to have to look into it. So far, I would say that the squeeze happens pretty lightly. Next, you can set up the level of your squeeze, light or firm, or do it later. Okay, other than that, the aspect is 18.5:9. You can take raw capture, there's HDR+, fast charge, there's Google Assistant basically everywhere. And as far as I've heard, you can get rid of spam calls, you can screen calls. Okay, so I'm going to have to get used to the camera. This is the more section, photosphere, slow motion, bunch of settings, camera sounds, Google Lens, grid type. You can see here the resolution. You can film in 4K, 30 frames per second. Not very sure if you can do 60 frames per second, would be nice, but I'm going to have to look into it. Video, camera, of course, bokeh, what would life be without it? There's also panorama, and I cannot wait to try the world famous nighttime low light capture mode. Okay, so we got motion as well. You can take motion photos, you can deactivate it. And there are many things to discover here. I hear we can do raw capture, and you can also take some pretty badass shots during the day and during the nighttime. So first impression, the bezels are actually narrower than expected. The notch bothers me less than expected. The edges feel like plastic to me, and I look forward to being convinced by the camera. And I have to admit, the interface is crazy minimalistic and intuitive. I'm having a hard time with this whole button thing and this whole replacement of the other buttons, but I'll get around it. After all, this is Android Pie, so we're going to have to live with it. This is from gsn.com. This has been the unboxing of the Google Pixel 3 XL. Bye bye.